Let's watch a preview of the ABC Afterschool special, Jacqui's Dilemma.
If you gotta have an abortion, you shouldn't have sex at all. That's the way I believe. You know, because there's always a chance that you will get pregnant. And I believe for women, if I happen to get a woman pregnant, she's going to destroy my baby. I don't even need to be bothered with her no more. That's my personal feelings. You know, other people may be like, you're not even right, but that's the way I was raised. And I was raised not to kill anybody. And by you having an abortion, you're killing a part of me.
Kelly thinks I should just go to the clinic. Get it over with. I know that's what Eddie wants. He even offered to pay for it. He doesn't have any money. I don't know what to think. I heard them fighting again last night. My mother was saying that I was too young to have a kid, that it would ruin my life. My dad says it's killing. I don't know how I feel. Sometimes I think they're both right.
I am strongly against abortions. I believe if you gotta have an abortion, you shouldn't have sex at all. That's the way I believe. You know, because there's always a chance that you will get pregnant. And I believe for women, if I happen to get a woman pregnant, she's going to destroy my baby. I don't even need to be bothered with her no more. That's my personal feelings. You know, other people may be like, you're not even right, but that's the way I was raised. And I was raised not to kill anybody. By you having an abortion, you're killing a part of me.
Mostly like when you see like the issues on television or on the news or anywhere, mainly it's like the men. It's like the men that are very opposed to it. And I would like to get all those men pregnant and see what they do about it. You know, see whether they have the baby or not, you know? And then be like, okay, buddy, let's see what you do now, you know?
I believe that the killing of innocent life, I believe the killing of any life, innocent or not, is wrong. I happen to think, because of my counseling experience with women at 15, 16, 17 years of age who have abortions, that very often they don't even know what they're doing. They're scared, they're panicked, their so-called friends say it's the easy way out. Nobody is thinking in terms of what it's going to do to her heart or her soul. Is abortion immoral? I believe it's immoral because we destroy the most innocent and the most defenseless members of our society.
We've made abortion such a widely fused, publicized issue when it should be such a private issue between a patient, her parent, and her doctor. Until now, we aren't even realistic about it. We're a society that really refused to deal with the issue of the pregnancy and how to prevent it, and yet all of a sudden we all fall in love with this fetus. And the minute that baby's born, we don't even want to provide food, clothing, and shelter.
So many people think it's the easy way out and it's no big deal, but it's such a big deal. I mean, I went with my friend to get an abortion, one of my friends, and it was just an awful, I mean, she was getting an abortion, and it was an awful experience. Awful.
And then I must say, if there weren't such things as abortions, though, none of our friends would have lives. I mean, they would be basically out of school, not going to college, just over.
Women do not take an abortion lightly. They go through a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of guilt. It would be beautiful if every woman wanted her pregnancy, but that's not the real world we live in. And therefore, I have to give the best medical care to a woman who determines that she wants to have an abortion, because I know it can be done safely without any complications.
A while ago, Magic had puppies. They were so beautiful. They were these little black things with half-opened eyes. And one day came time to give them up. And Mom put an ad in the paper, and people came to the house to choose. But afterwards, Magic kept looking for them all around the house. She cried for days. And we tried to tell her that they had gone to a good home and that they were happy. But all she knew was that she'd had babies. And now they were gone.
If I carried around a baby for 9 months and then gave birth to it, I would never be able to, first of all, have it ripped from my arms before even seeing it. And then knowing all my life that there's a human out there that was mine that I never got to see or never got to even hear. I think that would be, I would never ever be able to do that. I think it would be too emotional.
If I had a choice of giving my child up for adoption or, you know, having an abortion, if I could find someone who wanted my child, who was going to nurture and care for my child and make sure my child grows up in a stable environment and would be, you know, financially inclined, I would definitely give my child to that person.
I do not believe in giving a child up for adoption, because I believe that if you sow a seed, you reap that seed, okay? Because you're the one that got into the situation with your girlfriend, you got her pregnant, so you just go ahead and deal with it. Be a man, be a woman, take care of your child. I'm glad my mom did that to me. I'm glad she didn't send me off somewhere, you know?
Adoption is not for everybody. I certainly think adoption is a wonderful option, and I guess the most important thing to get across to people is that they should explore it. There are so many misconceptions. People hear things about adoption that are from 40 years ago and think they're still operating now.
I adopted Robbie from a teenage mother. I was able to be there in the hospital when he was born. And we keep in contact. We send pictures and letters. She can call me anytime and see how he's doing, and she knows he's happy and he's loved and he's taken care of. And it's given her a great sense of security and knowing what a good life she's provided for him, and it's given me the child I've always wanted.
I've never felt so much grief in my life, and I didn't think I would ever feel as much grief as I went through when I handed my son over. It was so final. All the months of feeling him grow inside of me was suddenly coming to an end. I knew I'd done the right decision, and I knew it would have been selfish for me to keep him even though I had no way to raise him. So I knew I did the right thing for him. But part of me inside felt that I'd lost the greatest thing in my life.
I think the decision to give up a child for adoption is a very painful one. It has lifelong implications. But the truth is that if you're young and you're pregnant, I think all the choices you have can be very painful ones.
Thank you, gang, and welcome back to Now or Never. Are you ready? Good. The clock's ticking, and you're gonna have to decide quickly because time's running out. Let's count them down, gang, shall we? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
About 500,000 youngsters get pregnant and carry pregnancy to term. 1 million get pregnant in a year, but about 500,000. That's equivalent to the population of Seattle, Washington. And can you imagine if a whole city kind of came to a halt and couldn't fulfill their dreams? Doctors stopped being doctors, lawyers couldn't be lawyers, cab drivers had to stop driving cabs. Well, that's sort of what happens to 500,000 teenage girls in the United States every year. They have to give up their dreams or they can't start dreaming.
My grandma used to read our fortunes. She had this old china tea set, and she used to read the leaves out of the bottoms of the cups. And she used to say that I would be a famous doctor or lawyer. One time, she told me I'd be president. And I believed her. She never mentioned me having a baby when I was 16.
My labor was hard. I was in labor 24 hours. And I was kicking one of the nurses. I was kicking her. And I was throwing my daughter's teddy bear. And my mom was sitting there laughing at me because I was telling the doctor, like, take her out. I knew, you have to take her out. It hurts too much. And they're like, well, we can't do that. We can help you. I said, no, I don't want help. I want you to take her out of me.
I think they're more frightened than older women are. I think it is emotionally harder for them to cope with the process, cope with the pain. I remember when I was an intern, a teenager, just wanting to get out of the labor bed and said, I'm going home now. I don't like this. They don't really have the emotional resources yet to go through something as difficult as childbirth. I also think something that's perhaps a little bit trivial is that young girls don't appreciate the cosmetic effects of going through a pregnancy. They have very pretty young bodies and are pretty astonished to end up with sagginess and stretch marks when they're still 15 years old.
I knew a girl once who was my age and had a baby. One time she brought it to school, and everybody crowded around to look at it. And I remember her saying that she had such big plans for the future, and that everything was going to be great. But after a while, she stopped coming to school, and I sort of lost track of her. Everybody did.
Yes, having a baby is a happy and joyful thing, but unfortunately, a lot of kids drop out of school when they're pregnant as teenagers. A lot of kids have very high expectations about what the father is going to be able to do with them or how supportive the parents are going to be, and then when the baby actually gets here, it's sort of like everyone else sort of has their own lives, and this is your baby, and you've got to take care of the baby. And I think combined with it being a happy time, there's also sort of a letdown for some of them because things aren't really as they expected them to be.
It's a lot of fun having a baby, but staying up all night, having to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to school, take tests, homework, it's not easy. It makes me annoyed sometimes and aggravated. And I think, when you think about having the baby, you don't think about all the hours you have to put into it. You can't think about how you're going to feel. You can only think about how it's going to be. So I didn't expect it to be like this, especially now that he's teething. So it's a lot harder than I thought.
My life changed since I got pregnant. I mean, before I used to go out, have fun with my friends, I don't know, go to dance or movies, and nothing to carry, nothing to worry about. But now, I mean, it's everything different because I can't go anywhere without my kid. And they have to be with me all the time. Everything's changed for me now. Everything's different. It's not the same anymore.
Teenagers don't recognize that the problems that their friends face with having babies are the same problems that they will face. If the baby is ill, you have to take the baby to the doctor. If you want to go out on Saturday night and you don't have a babysitter, you have to stay home with the baby. You can't hang out after school with the other kids because you have a baby. Every teenager thinks it's going to be different for her.
It's hard. It's a lot of responsibilities you got to take on. You have to take care of 2 people that's doing your child. It's hard out here. It's not that easy. I mean, if you're going to do it, be prepared for a big return in your life because this is what it's going to be.
Every person I talk to tells me something different. People I thought were so smart all have opposite opinions. I don't know what's wrong or what's right or what's anything. And I keep asking myself why this happened. All I know is that I have to do something. But the more I hear, the less certain I become.
Yeah, it is a crisis. It is a crisis. I think that there's so many things that go into that decision-making process that it almost feels like no one decision is going to be right for all parties involved. And I guess what the teenager has to do is sort of choose the option that feels the most comfortable out of maybe an uncomfortable situation. It feels right for her.
I am not at all opposed to having a lot of consultation. I think for any woman it's helpful. But it really isn't something you can let somebody else decide for you. It doesn't mean that it's easy, but it means that it's maybe the, I don't want to sound demeaning, but it may be the first real adult thing you have to do, in the sense of realizing that any choice you make you can't go back on, and isn't going to be perfect. Nobody can make it perfect for you.
Last night, it rained for hours. I didn't know the sky could hold so much rain. And I kept looking out of my window, wishing that it would stop. Wishing that I could go back and change everything. Wishing that I hadn't been so stupid. And then it was over. And I don't know exactly when I made up my mind. But I did. I made up my mind. And I'm still scared. But at least I made a decision. Now comes the hard part.
Nobody feels any pain tonight as I stand inside the rain. Oh, and everybody knows that baby's got new clothes. Oh, but lately I see her ribbons and her bows have fallen from her curls. She takes just like a woman. Yes, she does. She makes love just like a woman. Yes, she does. She aches just like a woman. And she breaks just like a little girl.
If you are interested in watching more of our videos, then click on one of the links above.